Welcome back to Iraqi Dinar News, your trusted source for timely, clear, and accurate coverage on developments related to the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong. Today's update marks a pivotal moment, one that could reshape the financial trajectory for currency holders globally. We urge you to pay close attention, as what you're about to hear may be the most significant breakthrough yet in the ongoing currency revaluation process. This isn't speculation or hearsay. This is a direct, impactful declaration from President Donald J. Trump, one that's already rippling across global markets. During a private economic discussion later made public, President Trump delivered a firm stance on currency manipulation and international trade fairness. His remarks carried more than just political weight. They unveiled a comprehensive shift in America's position on how currencies must be valued in global trade relationships. He called out nations still engaging in artificial devaluation and made it clear that countries participating in unfair monetary practices could face trade penalties, financial restrictions, and potential sanctions. Iraq and Vietnam, however, were not on that warning list. In fact, they received praise for their recent reforms and commitments to aligning with open, transparent currency policies. Trump singled out Iraq's internal banking sector reforms and acknowledged the country's cleanup efforts, indicating that Iraq is taking the right path toward becoming a responsible global financial player. For Vietnam, the former president highlighted their emergence as a regional industrial power, positioning itself as a credible trading partner on the world stage. This wasn't just lip service. Trump's remarks were pointed and strategic. He emphasized that the U.S. will prioritize economic relations with nations that commit to fair currency valuations, signaling that Iraq and Vietnam could soon become central players in future U.S. trade deals. This announcement arrives at a time when both Iraq and Vietnam are ramping up their monetary reforms. From a geopolitical perspective, this is more than a public relations move. It's a calculated message sent to global investors, institutions, and policymakers alike. When a figure as influential as Trump publicly aligns with currency reform and openly supports nations like Iraq and Vietnam, the implications go beyond headlines. It creates international momentum. From those close to Trump's advisory circles, there are growing indications that this message is part of a larger framework aimed at recalibrating how currencies are evaluated globally. The key principle is clear: no more manipulation, no more synthetic valuations. The market must dictate the worth of a currency. And Iraq, with its strategic oil reserves, its drive for banking reform, and its efforts to eliminate corruption in the financial system, is moving into position as a model of compliance. Trump went even further, stressing that America's future economic strategy will center on working with nations that display monetary transparency. That's a significant development. For dinar and dong holders, this serves as a strong indicator that the currencies long viewed with skepticism by financial institutions are finally gaining recognition at the highest levels. He also commented on monetary independence. Specifically, he addressed the importance of countries operating outside of the U.S. dollar's influence, when appropriate. That statement directly relates to Iraq's push to reduce dollar dependency in domestic markets. Trump supported these efforts, stating that Iraqis deserve to trust and transact in their native currency. In one of his most pointed remarks, he said the world needs to start recognizing the Iraqi dinar as a legitimate instrument of global trade. That level of public support can't be understated. It's the kind of endorsement that accelerates recognition on platforms like Forex and strengthens investor confidence. On the Vietnamese front, Trump drew attention to the ongoing rebalancing of manufacturing hubs from China to Vietnam, underscoring the country's strategic rise. With new foreign investment flooding in and international trade partnerships forming, Vietnam's currency is no longer sidelined. Instead, it's being valuated on merit, stability, and future growth potential. This redefinition of economic identity is exactly what revaluation watchers have been anticipating. If you're holding dinar or dong, it's crucial to understand how unique this moment is. Historically, the road to revaluation has been filled with political hurdles, bureaucratic delays, and misinformation, but now the climate has shifted. Trump's statement was not just another voice, it was a catalyst, elevating these currencies to a new level of visibility. Importantly, while he didn't explicitly mention Article 8 compliance, Trump referenced Iraq's progress in achieving monetary independence and increased global convertibility, precisely the kinds of reforms that define compliance. His messaging echoed what the Central Bank of Iraq has already been promoting, that Iraq is ready for full economic integration and is moving away from outdated, restrictive practices. This synchronicity between U.S. leadership and Iraqi reform efforts strongly suggests behind-the-scenes coordination. These are not isolated incidents. They are parallel tracks moving toward the same destination, a fully recognized, exchange-ready Iraqi dinar. For the first time in years, it feels as though speculation is giving way to policy-backed progress. The deeper meaning behind Trump's remarks lies in his clear warning to those countries still engaged in artificial currency suppression. His message wasn't vague. He stated plainly that any nation continuing to manipulate its exchange rate would risk losing access to U.S. financial infrastructure. That's a substantial threat, especially given how many economies rely on ties to U.S. banks and trade systems. For Iraq and Vietnam, however, it was the opposite, a clear sign of approval and encouragement for the reforms they've already begun implementing. Iraq's banking overhaul is already producing visible results. The central bank has started dismantling black market currency auctions, has enforced stricter compliance with anti-money laundering regulations, and has cracked down on actors abusing currency channels. These reforms are not just internal victories, they align directly with global financial standards. In essence, Iraq is checking all the boxes that institutions like the IMF and World Bank have outlined for international currency legitimacy. What this signals to investors is something profound. Iraq is no longer trying to be a hidden player. The country is broadcasting its readiness not just through domestic policy, but now through alignment with international figures like Trump, who are echoing the same message: fairness, transparency, and sovereignty. One of the most impactful shifts we've witnessed is the growing transparency from Iraq's leadership. High-level officials from the Central Bank of Iraq have been appearing in public briefings more frequently, and their language has changed from cautious to confident. They're no longer speaking in vague terms about long-term reform. They're laying out specific policy changes, digital banking initiatives, and exchange rate adjustments. These are not hypothetical discussions anymore. They are concrete steps toward global financial integration. As this evolution continues, we're seeing a similar shift within financial markets themselves. Forex platforms that once ignored or downplayed the dinar and dong are now beginning to quietly make space for them. Adjustments to watch lists, pilot pricing models, and inclusion in global trading algorithms are emerging. These behind-the-scenes changes indicate that the financial world is preparing for a post-revaluation landscape. While these developments may still appear subtle to the average investor, they represent significant movement. It's like the calm before a financial storm. Everything is aligning, and when that final trigger is pulled, pricing will move quickly. Trump's public approval could serve as that trigger. When a former U.S. president with vast influence signals confidence in a country's monetary policy, traders, analysts, and policymakers all take notice. For those who have held on to the dinar and dong through years of stagnation, this is a long-awaited turning point. Trump's statement validates the belief that change was always coming. It just needed the right alignment of timing, policy, and leadership, and now all three are converging. Let's also not overlook how this affects the narrative around trust. For years, retail investors were treated as outliers in the financial world, especially when it came to holding currencies like the dinar. But now, that's changing. Trump specifically acknowledged those who invested early and believed in the potential for transformation. He pointed out that individuals, everyday investors, who acted in good faith should benefit from reforms grounded in fairness. That's a direct call-out to the Dinar and Dong community. For the first time, a public figure at that level is saying the quiet part out loud, that the people who waited, researched, and believed were right to do so. It's no longer about whether revaluation is possible, it's about recognizing that it's becoming probable. The reforms we're seeing, from currency restructuring to digital banking upgrades, are happening for a reason. Iraq has stated repeatedly that it aims to be part of the global economic system, not remain on its margins. And now, it has political backing from voices that carry enormous influence. That combination can be the final piece to move these currencies from suppressed to fully recognized. Meanwhile, Vietnam continues to gain ground in global trade networks, drawing multinational partnerships and investments as production shifts away from China. Its rising economic profile adds further support to its currency's strength, reinforcing the broader narrative of reform and readiness across both nations. Together, Iraq and Vietnam are presenting a united front of progress. Trump's message effectively acts as a seal of approval, encouraging U.S. economic allies and institutional traders to take notice. It also signals that further international backing from Europe, Asia, and beyond may not be far behind. If you're an investor, the takeaway is simple: conditions are maturing. We are witnessing not just political speeches or speculative chatter, but policy-backed reform paired with public endorsement from top-level figures, and that's not a coincidence. It's part of a carefully orchestrated shift in how global currencies are evaluated. So where do we go from here? The path ahead is becoming clearer with each development. Iraq's monetary transformation is no longer a distant goal. It's unfolding now, step by step, under the watchful eye of both national leadership and international observers. Every move by the Central Bank of Iraq is more transparent, every public briefing more detailed, and every policy more aligned with global financial standards. President Trump's endorsement didn't create these changes, but it validated them. His remarks acted like a megaphone, amplifying what insiders and longtime investors have understood for years. Iraq and Vietnam are actively correcting course, and their currencies are gradually regaining rightful standing in the global system. Forex platforms, previously hesitant, are now adjusting how they categorize and position the dinar and dong. Many are experimenting with preliminary conversion models and watchlist placements. This isn't guesswork. This is groundwork. As these platforms shift to accommodate potential new listings, the momentum builds. It's no longer about theories. We're seeing financial infrastructure quietly prepare for post-revaluation mechanics. Once the final signal is given, likely tied to official compliance certifications and intergovernmental agreements, things could move rapidly. Holders of these currencies must be prepared not just in spirit but in logistics. Do you know how your holdings are stored? Do you have a secure method to exchange when the time arrives? These are questions that deserve answers now, not later. Additionally, now is the time to consult professionals. Financial planners, tax advisors, and exchange specialists. Don't rely on hearsay. Make sure you're informed and have a strategy that fits your specific financial situation. Because if the market moves overnight, you don't want to be caught scrambling. Beyond the logistics, there's also a need to recognize the broader context. This isn't just about exchange rates, it's about economic inclusion. Iraq and Vietnam, once treated as peripheral economies, are re-entering the international stage with renewed strength. For Iraq, the combination of oil reserves, anti-corruption reforms, and monetary discipline has created an environment where revaluation isn't just a hope, it's a probable outcome. Vietnam's growing role in global supply chains, its foreign investment inflows, and its macroeconomic policies are signaling similar readiness. The message from Trump wasn't just financial, It was symbolic. He told the world that nations committed to fair currency practices deserve recognition. More importantly, he said individual investors, those who saw the opportunity early, should be rewarded. That was a nod to millions of dinar and dong holders worldwide who have weathered criticism and uncertainty. It was a moment of validation. Looking at history, major currency events have often followed patterns of silence, build-up, and then sudden action. We are now past the silence. Public statements are being made, reforms are being implemented, and financial entities are making subtle adjustments. What remains is the final phase, execution. For years, this channel has been your daily source of analysis, context, and truth. We've highlighted central bank statements, tracked legislative actions, and dissected economic signals. Today, all those threads are tying together. We are closer than ever to a full and formal recognition of the Iraqi dinar and Vietnamese dong on the world stage. As we move forward, our message remains the same. Stay informed, stay patient, and stay ready. This is no longer just a niche financial story. It's a major international development unfolding in real time. Iraq and Vietnam are no longer on the sidelines. They're stepping onto the main field, backed by policy, reform, and now high-level endorsements. For our loyal viewers, understand this. You are not spectators. You are participants in a financial transformation that may shape the next generation. The time you've invested in following updates, learning the landscape, and understanding the stakes has brought you to this moment. Don't step away now. If you've found this report helpful, we encourage you to share it with friends, family, and fellow holders. The more awareness we build, the more prepared our community becomes. Also, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and stay connected here on Iraqi Dinar News. We'll continue to track every development as it unfolds. History doesn't wait for permission, and neither does reform. The changes you're witnessing today are not random. They are strategic, coordinated, and unstoppable. Whether you hold dinar, dong, or both, know that the global financial landscape is shifting, and you are positioned at the center of that change. Until next time, stay sharp, stay prepared, and stay engaged. You're not just hearing financial news, you're living it.